Good evening. We're going to call to order the bond hearing. So this is a special hearing for the purposes of discussing and the board voting on whether to move forward with the bond, approximately $430,000 for upgrading the HVAC system and controls at the middle high school, and to include that bond article on the warrant for the school district meeting coming up in March. By way of explanation, the bond article and the project itself has been sort of something that's in the works for a long time. We have sort of a unique opportunity right now to take advantage of, I think, just over $500,000 in federal ESSER grant money to move forward with that project. That's going to substantially offset a large portion of that. We've also been able to identify I think the total project cost is about $1.2 million, and we're only going to have to bond approximately $430,000 of that. And part of that is because we've been able to identify the funding sources. That's the ESSER funds being the biggest part of that. Unassigned fund balances from last year, and then by also putting off projects that we would normally do. I think there's flooring projects that we're going to bypass this year that we would normally spend roughly $150,000 on. That's been the average, and that's usually taxpayer generated money. That affects the tax rate. But instead, we're going to use that towards this project. And so, all told, the bond is $430,000, and the purpose of that, and I can let Brian actually, maybe Brian's sort of been more versed in this. If you want to just sort of give a little bit of a history of the scope of what the project is about. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be super detailed because I think the gentleman from Get Associates are also going to give a project scope discussion as well.
Yeah, so they'll have a better explanation of the scope of what their project is that they're going to do. This kind of goes back to original system that was in the high school that is more than due for upgrading at this point in time, and there has been numerous upgrades done over the years. However, we're at the point where the system needs to be replaced. By replacing the system, though, it'll also make controlling the system a lot easier and just bring it up to date. Today's technology, and the fact that we get to use some of this ESSER money is made it seem like the time to do this project. And it also has to do with clean air. We'll be able to answer all the questions.
And so just by way of a little bit of background, parts of the system were installed in 1964. There's some parts in 85, some parts in 91. Most recently, there was upgrades to the controls. They were done a little more than 10 years ago, but that was only sort of partial upgrades. And the point of this project is a complete and total overhaul of the system with new boilers, new components, new controls. Not entirely new, an entirely new system using existing pieces where we can, similar to what was done here in the elementary school in the last project. The timeline of the project is we hope to start in June and be completed by August. Certainly be completed by the time the school is scheduled to start. So that's the project timeline. You know, we did have a few hiccups with the project in the elementary school timeline wise because there was some trouble getting parts, and so they're anticipating that as well. But there may be some additional difficulty, but the bulk of the work is going to be completed by August. Yeah, and one of the big components of the timing of this project, aside from the age of the system, is that the ESSER funds do expire. It's sort of use it or lose it situation, and we're going to need to do this project at some point, and the timing is right because we're getting almost half of it funded. So that's a good opportunity for us to take advantage of some money that's not going to impact the taxpayers here. So And then the other issue too is even though bond rates have gone up a bit, they're still very reasonable. The most recent bond sale, the bonds were 2.8%, so still very reasonable for a 5-year bond. It's a little less for the 10-year and the 15-year, so 2.7 for 10. And, so the 20-year is 3.4. So, but I think we anticipate a 5-year bond, so in the neighborhood of 2.8%. So that's still a great rate on the bonds. Despite interest rates going crazy in other areas. At this point, I'd like to introduce Jim Veer and Keith Demore from Yett & Associates. Are you gentlemen, can you hear me? Okay. We saw a thumbs up. We gotta unmute.
I can. This is Keith. I can hear you. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Keith. Mr. Veer and Mr. Demore are with Yett & Associates. Yett & Associates was the outfit that was the firm that was hired to do the engineering on the project, put together the proposal, and is here to sort of discuss a bit of the scope of the project. So if you take it away, guys.
Okay, this is good evening. Thank you for inviting us to this bond meeting. This is Jim Veer with Yett & Associates. The project has been somewhat ironed out with scope as described previously. What we're trying to do here is replace a boiler that has seen most of its lifetime and is in need of replacement. We're going in with a new boiler using existing piping infrastructure as a distribution system. The boiler, along with the boilers, we'll be putting in new pumps to help manage the flow of the hot water system throughout the building. There's a wing which is referred to as the middle school wing, which currently does not have ventilation air as a component to it. We're addressing that with an energy recovery ventilator to bring in fresh air and exhaust the bad air, if you will, for lack of better terms, in the middle school wing. The science wing, we're replacing 2 unit ventilators in 2 of the science classrooms and upgrading the outside air intakes on those unit ventilators. The wing that's considered or called, referenced as the math wing, we are again putting ventilation air in that wing. There's an old rooftop unit that's seen better days and it's on its last legs, and that wing would have an energy recovery ventilator with fresh air in, exhaust air out. The wing that's referred to as the humanitarian wing or humanity wing, that will have upgraded controls to the existing lower coil units that are tucked away up in the attic. The gymnasium unit is not part of this contract, and the kitchen exhaust hood and makeup air are not part of this contract. We will, however, be replacing the unit that serves the what's called the cafeteria, which resides or hangs in the gymnasium area to provide better ventilation to that area. So overall, we're improving the environment in the air quality within the school, similar to what was done in the elementary school years back, a year or 2 or so ago. The controls that were described within this school said they were reworked 10 years ago. And those controls, Mark Hood has told us, are not functioning well, and that manual manipulation between Mark and his staff have to be made to make temperature control adjustments within those areas. We will be removing all of those controls, and there is some existing pneumatic controls which too will be removed. We'll be going in with what's called direct DDC controls, which is direct digital controls. this will be an extension of the system that was in place in the elementary school. This will give Mark and his staff capability of off-site notifications if there is a problem or an issue, and he can address things much easier and in real time with this upgraded system within the high school. This will make Mark's life much easier to be able to control both buildings all from one platform, and that is an enhancement to the school system as well. Basically, that's sort of it in a nutshell. We're trying to improve ventilation, air as noted, and just make better air quality in the school and help on some of your costs with your antiquated old systems that you have in place with new, more efficient systems. Keith, do you have anything to add to that?
Nothing to add to the actual program. Just wanted to touch base that we have been doing this across the state of New Hampshire and Vermont. ESSER funding has been utilized throughout, so it's a good program. It does have a window. That seems to be the number one thing that hangs things up, the actual window of time to pay off for the program. So I think, Jim, you did a great job. That was the program as I know it. I can't add anything to that program.
That was a good point, Keith. I would just like to mention a couple other things here to highlight that equipment right now has long lead times. And again, this equipment here, once this job has been awarded, placing of orders of equipment, there's going to be lead times, and there's pieces in the job that will allow for the equipment to be ordered. If it's not there on site exactly when it needs to be, the bulk of the meat of the work, if you will, can be done during the summer break, and then minimal work. If the equipment arrives, it can be put up on the roof if it's not on the time before school has started. The equipment can arrive and be placed on the roof at a later date, and it won't impact the program. And also, if individuals feel this is not the time to do this, let's wait another year or whatnot, this market is very volatile, and what pricing is today is not what it's going to be a week from today. There's just nothing. It's very fluid, and price changes overnight, and it's very unpredictable.
I think.
I just had a question on the heating system, the outcome of the heating system in the efficiency of the heating system. Are we going to be able to see a difference with the use of the oil and whatnot?
Yes, the boiler you have in place today is a large mass boiler. We're going in with modulating boilers that will use less water, have less water content in them, and it'll be less water to heat up initially. And we have valve control that is not in place today that will limit the flow of water. So all of this tying in with VFDs, which is variable frequency drives, which when you don't need full flow of a pump, if you will, it ramps it down, so you're using less energy to pump a little bit of water instead of using a pump that just pushes full flow all the time. The answer to your question is yes, you will see improvements in efficiencies.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for these gentlemen from the board? Thank you, Jim and Keith. We're going to open it up to public participation and take questions. If anyone here has any questions about the HVAC bond. And I guess then we will, hearing none, we will close public participation. And I will accept the motion from the board to move forward with a bond of approximately $430,000 for upgrading the HVAC system and controls at the middle high school, and to include the bond article in the warrant for the 2023 annual school district meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Tammy. Second, Brian. Thank you. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, abstentions, and that motion carries. And that will, and I'll accept the motion to close the bonds here.
So moved.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Joe. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, and the bond hearing is closed, and we will now call to order the regularly scheduled.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you for
Oh, yes.
your presentation tonight. We appreciate your time.
All right, have a good evening.
You're welcome.
Drive safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
So we'll call to order the regularly scheduled meeting of the board. First up is the approval of the minutes, from January 11th. Thank you, Brian.
Second,
Thank you, Tammy.
good one thing. On Page 6. Page 6, the second to last paragraph there, Tamara made a motion. If you go down to the second line from the bottom, access the retained, it means ED, retained funds. Sorry,
Fine, shoot. Have a good night.
I can't help it. Everybody is correct the textbooks in school.
All right, with that modification, all those in favor of approval of the minutes from January 11th, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed?
Thank you,
Abstentions?
Sharon.
The motion carries. Those are, yeah, incredibly thorough.
yeah,
Thank you, Sharon.
fantastic minutes. You do a great job.
Next up is the approval of the board, or the minutes of the non-public session from January 11th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. And any further discussion on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, extensions, and that motion carries. Next up is student assessment data, although we're going to put that on hold for today because Mark and Jason are not here. And I think are sort of the drivers of that. So we're going to wait until they're available to come discuss that with us and have a more in-depth discussion about that. Correspondence, I did not receive any. Business administrators reports.
Just as a reminder to sign the manifest.
All here.
Yes.
Dr. McGann, superintendent's reports.
Everything is in there. Like I said, the student assessment data is in the next meeting. I just wanted to remind everybody that, I'll let everybody know that Precision Driving School will be using facilities to run their program.
Okay.
So they're going to, there is a driving school coming in starting February 1. So they're going to go through the process. They're using the high school multipurpose room, which we've used in the past, but we've run the program, the district.
Right.
Now we're not. It's just a contract.
Excellent. So
and they're
this is
coming
the
in.
driver's ed program for the high school students. Excellent.
It's-
Fantastic.
Do our local students get priority?
Yeah, they do. They do get to
Good.
spaces available for it.
Excellent.
That's good to hear.
Do we have any kind of a scholarship available for students that can't afford driver's ed? Is there anything out there? It is. I know that there's been some local help in years past. I'll touch base with you on that. Yeah. I'm sorry?
Good idea.
Yeah.
So the rest of the information is in your packet in the memo.
Okay.
So there's a set of that.
One other question, the Ryan story, the speaker that's coming, is that going to be on the Kent Connection recorded and put on the Kent Connection YouTube page?
I think we are trying to do that.
Oh, good.
yes, But let me just check on that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, and just for the public's notice on that, that's, there's 2 separate sessions of a presenter coming up February 16th to speak about bullying, cyberbullying, and teen suicide. That includes a parent session and a session with the students as well. So
Right.
notices have gone out, but you know, if you haven't seen it, keep your eye open for that. And it's open to students and parents.
That involves preteen to, you know, senior, so it'll be grades 5 through 12.
Can we try to promote this a little more? I know there's been some
Definitely.
issues lately,
Yeah,
and,
we're gonna be sending things out.
you know, fantastic.
Yeah.
Send everything home with the kids and social
It's on the
media, and
calendar.
what else?
Yeah. It is on.
We'll send some forms out.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, and we have a principal's report. Just put it down.
It's in your packet, but it's
Okay, that was it.
And the only information added to that was the precision driving school.
Okay, so I guess maybe can we just make that part of the minutes?
Yes.
That piece.
Perfect.
Committee reports.
We met with facilities, but we just basically discussed the issues that took place over last week. and how we can remedy types are fixed.
Great. Was that like a failure because of age, or was there
Well, they discovered a root in the pipe, which was one, which is an age thing, the whole building. And the other was just a result of years of using, in the past, using previous supplies that were inadequate, that haven't been used recently. So it was like a closed vein.
Also, for committees, we have a professional development and risk management committees are meeting on February 7th at 2:45. We also are scheduling an emergency operation plan committee, and that will be for the 2 communities, the agencies of the fire and police, as well as a board representative and teacher and staff representatives. So we'll get together and we'll review what the board has reviewed, and then each one will get a copy.
This one's in February 1st, but the one, I got the email says it's February 2nd. What day is that meeting? Yeah, the one that was sent out to everybody said February 2nd, but this one here said the first, so no worries, just.
Okay, oh, glad you picked it up.
I believe it's the second because there was a conflict on the first. You had a different meeting, so
Okay.
that's why that was, so it was changed.
I just plan on the second. If there's anything different, just let me know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I know we have a bunch of policies on the first reading this evening, so I did have a few notes. I was a little confused. It looks like we had, and maybe it was the way that it was sent. Was it the policies, our policies with the changes, and then after that, the recommendations from the school board association?
Well, the
as well?
school board association's copies, versions of the
Their
policies.
Yeah, right.
So that's what our changes are based on.
Because it looked like there was not all of the recommended stuff was adopted, which is not atypical, but I was trying to figure out which ones are what are the ones that we're actually moving on. So ones that are corrected and the ones that. Is that right?
Yep. We went through all of them except for, I think, 2 we held back, correct?
Yeah, there were 2, and I did not include those on the
Right,
list.
okay, okay.
So one of them was policy CFA, which is CFA was individual school administrative personnel. And the part that I sort of questioned about was reference to the hiring of the principal. and it says that it would be, that all applicants will be screened by the superintendent and a number will be selected for interview by the superintendent and the board. And I think that we typically include a lot bigger cross-section of people, you know, some board members, some staff, teachers.
Definitely, yeah, we have a whole committee.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I don't know if we could change that maybe to by the
I-
superintendent and the hiring and the designees as hiring
Yeah.
committee, including members of the board or something. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, What letter is that one?
That's CFA.
When Mark was hired, we were on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just us, you know.
Right.
It was
No,
like-
no, no,
It
no,
was a,
it was a committee
I thought, it seemed more reasonable to me to have a bigger group of people.
representative of each of the levels of teachers.
Right.
Definitely.
So the next one is GBEBA, but I can't actually tell. I don't know which one I'm looking at, but, like, yeah, the dress code. So is this the one that we're?
We can change some of the wording recommended by the board.
Okay, so the one that I can't remember. Let me take a look and see if I can tell if it was. The only thing that I noticed was that it said no sneakers, which seemed a little harsh. But it doesn't seem, I don't think that that's in the one that we're trying. It's in the
That's it, yeah.
recommendations. In the school
Right.
board, or the school board association recommendations.
Had so no sneakers, but ours doesn't.
Yeah, so, okay, so I guess we don't. need to worry about that.
What'd you say? We can't hear you.
In withdraw,
Yep,
CFG, I think is CFC,
On the, so
Yeah.
on the,
just for
Yeah.
the,
on the-
Yes.
oh, I see. CFC,
CFC.
yeah, not CFG.
And then the other one was BDG, talking about the school attorney and sort of the policy relative to that. I guess it's never been the case since I've been on the board that the board has had to approve the district's use of the attorney. And that generally speaking, that's up to the discretion of the superintendent. And this sort of says, you know, that that's going to be something that we are, that we're going to be voting on whenever the district, or not whenever, but like when the district needs to.
the decision to seek legal advice or assistance on behalf of the school district shall know.
Right. I didn't get that it was the board at all. Many types of legal
assistance to the district may be considered routine and not necessitating specific work.
So is it something that?
I guess the last sentence says, however, when the admin concludes that unusual types or amounts of professional legal service may be required, board authorization for such service shall be promptly requested. But I think even in times that, because we have had to have a lot of legal advice over the past years, but we didn't,
Not
we
unusual
didn't get
types.
permission. Well, we've had some legal, well, yeah.
But I
I
mean,
mean-
not like at a,
But that's probably the part that was, that caught you up, Jay, was that.
Yeah, and it just seemed like,
Should unusuals be like extensive?
I don't know, I mean, I'm just looking at sort of the list of, you know, when interpreting rules and regulations, you sort of look to a list. If it's not included in the list, then it's sort of interpreted as having been excluded from the list. And so the list is pretty small. If it's, And I don't know if you feel like that fairly encompasses the scope of things that you normally, and here's an example. I know, there's been a recent situation where we've had to consult with the attorney, and not just consult with the attorney, but retain specific attorneys for specific things, and that would have, I think, fallen outside of the scope of this policy.
That's, yeah.
But
that's
I
exactly
also think that was something that needed to be done quickly
Correct.
and it shouldn't have waited until the board. Meeting. And so.
So maybe do we need that piece?
I just don't, I don't want the district to be hamstrung, and we need
Yeah.
to be able to discuss or retain the attorney or hire additional legal services on behalf of the district in short order.
Because
I
we
agree.
don't follow the policy anyway.
What's that?
Or
Right.
we're not doing that anyway. Then if it does come to this, we don't give permission, we never do.
Yeah.
So,
So just take that sentence off the last.
Yeah, I think
Paragraph.
my thought is that it's appropriate to vest the decision-making on that issue with the superintendent and the administration.
Instead of requested, should it be properly
Notified, maybe.
that way
Should the
aware that this
That's-
is going on?
and that practice does happen.
Mhm,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So just maybe change that last thing to, in the event that legal services are determined to be necessary outside of the typical amounts for services, the board will be notified of the decision as soon as practical. Comfortable with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was it for me.
Appreciate that.
No, that's
Put
great.
a lot of effort. There's a-
So is the last one CFC, supposed to be CFC?
I think, no, there's two. There's CFC, and CFCF.
CFG, yeah, but not CFG.
There's no CFG, or CFCF.
No, there's two typos, I think you just have to find this one. Because if you go back to the policy minutes. So it's after Jay starts talking, so I'll go back to it. We talked about withdrawing CFC, but if you read. Then you go down, it says policy CEQ.
It is CFC, actually.
CFC,
CFC and CFCF.
okay.
They go
Yeah,
together.
so
That's the way it was written.
it's the evaluation requirement and the form.
And the reason why we're withdrawing that is because the state came up with an evaluation for administrators years ago and we adopted that.
So this is moving from first to second, so we're not actually going to do the withdrawals.
Anyone else? No? I'll make a motion to move BA, BCA, BCB, BDB, BDG, BEB, BEDA, BEDC, BEDD, BEDD-R, CB-R, CFA, GBEBA to second reading.
Thank you, Tammy.
A second.
Thank you, Jasmine. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So then, business requiring board action and nominations, recommendations, resignations. We've all been provided a copy of the staff handbook. If we could take a look at it, and put back on the agenda for approval next spring. Same thing as the 2023-24 school year calendar. Just take a look and be prepared to vote on that.
I had a couple of questions on with the, because I read through, I didn't print it because it's some many pages, but I did read through it. Yes, that. On page 8, under 8, it's under D and then B. We don't give conduct points anymore. That's not part of discipline. It says conduct points will be.
Sure, so we'll receive a conduct form.
Yeah.
to be targeted.
We don't give conduct points.
On page 8.
Page 8, it's 8 and then capital D, lowercase b. We don't give conduct points to. And then the other question I had was with doing the attendance and report cards and stuff with Alma. The elementary isn't doing that yet. Will they be doing that by September?
Yes.
Okay, that was the only other question I had.
So that, again, that'll be back on the agenda for next.
Do you have to read it again? Okay.
As long as you're satisfied.
Yeah, definitely. It's time to go through it again.
Were there any significant changes in this from last year? Anything really off the wall significant changes? Or pretty
No,
much-
no, no, that's not too bad. The staff handbook was one, I mean, the dress code was one, and then some of this stuff right here.
And staff, the staff change.
Oh, staff.
Yeah.
Then audit of board members questionnaire. So that's the fun times that we get to go through right now. Basically, it's just making sure that we are all not aware of any fraud or conflicts of interest or anything like that. So we'll go through that. We can all. I sign it, but everybody has to sort of respond. Yeah, exactly. I'll read it. So,
So this is the next meeting.
Yeah, one's the last year's responses, and one's a fair.
Were there any questions on the school calendar? No.
So again, this is just for the auditors, for our annual audit, just to make sure that we're up to snuff with our finances. So do you have any knowledge or suspicions of fraud affecting your entity? Have you received any communication from employees, former employees, regulators, or others alleging fraud? Have you identified any specific risks of fraud within your entity?
No.
Has the board adopted a universal code of ethics for members and employees to follow?
Yes.
If yes, does this document prohibit elected officials, employees from doing business with the entity? The answer to that is no, it does not specifically exclude it, but there is disclosure requirements and it has to be through a normal competitive process. Have you or any related parties of yours had any interest, direct or indirect, in any of the following transactions or pending or incomplete transactions since January 1st, 2021? July 1st, sorry, 2021, to which the school district, SAU, or any retirement savings, pensions, or other similar plan was or is to be a party? That be the sale, purchase, exchange, or leasing of property? No. Receiving or furnishing of goods, services, or facilities? Transfer of receipts? Transfer or receipt of income or assets? Yeah, actually, so, good question.
Yeah, my
So
husband bought a bus.
her husband bought the bus.
Oh, wait, so that's what I'm wondering, if is that,
Sale, purchase, exchange, or leasing. So the
Purchase.
purchase.
Right.
Yeah. So I will put yes on that.
Wait, to which the school or any cities.
I mean, we put it out sealed bid twice.
right,
We
I
had
mean,
no takers.
there's nothing
Yeah.
nefarious there, but I just think we
Yep.
should, full disclosure, we should.
No, you're right. I sort of.
Disclose it, yeah.
Yep. Transfer or receipt of any income or assets. Maintenance of bank balances as compensating balances for the benefit of another. Any other transactions? There's a spot where I can explain. So just written, husband of board member purchased surplus bus after no bids were received and sealed for auction. Does the board have any concerns over related party transactions? Does the board formally authorize all disbursements, both vendor and payroll, prior to release of funds? Yes. Describe how the board stays informed of the latest changes in the laws and regulations pertaining to the entity. It's usually through updates from the administration. And training.
Do you want to see what it was last year?
Does the board review comparative reports of estimated and actual revenues and appropriations and expenditures? Yes.
Weekly manifest and quarterly reports.
What procedures?
Yes, I have.
Oh, yeah, so, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask. It's just sort of typed up.
It's been done already.
It's not spectacular. What procedure does the board follow when reviewing or using these reports? For example, does the board normally meet with department heads as part of this process? And also, does the board review both the revenue and expenditure reports?
We'll go through annual budget sessions and reports and meet with department heads during the budget workshops.
I think that's still accurate. With some department heads during budget workshops because has the board approved a disaster recovery plan in the event of loss or interruption of IT function?
Yes. We'll have a copy. We'll have a copy.
Is there a written investment policy adopted?
Yes.
Yes. If
Did
yes,
we
please provide
review
a
that?
copy.
6/22/22.
Thank you.
Have you adopted the use of either debit or credit cards by employees?
Yes. We wrote single district card.
And it's basically. And ask for the policies around that. Does the board have knowledge of any funds or bank accounts that are not in the custody of the treasurer?
Yes. Student activities, principal trust funds, trustees of the trust funds for the town of Woodstock.
And does it change at all when, so last year we changed our special ed trust fund to a special ed capital reserve fund? Does that,
Still in the
that
custody
actually,
of the
I
treasurer.
was gonna say, that actually puts it back.
Yeah. It's- yeah.
So that doesn't change it. Has the board approved a fund balance policy in compliance with GASB number 54?
Yes. So you'll have a copy of that
Yeah.
to attach.
Yeah, I have a list of all the
You're awesome.
policies.
Thank you.
And does the school district SAU have knowledge of any crowdfunding activities? If so, please indicate what they are and on what website they will maintain.
They wrote
Who is
no
responsible?
knowledge.
I think we have a sort of policy that would require specific approval. Um,
They took the COVID ones off. Huh? Last year, or last time we had COVID ones. COVID questions.
So, Sharon, are you? Would it make sense to have you type this up and then I'll just sign it at the
And I'll
next
let you know
meeting?
when it's done.
Okay. So I'll give this to you, so have our answers.
Okay.
Okay, nothing under continuing business? And nothing under new business? I don't see any students.
Yes, I just have one thing to add. I'm taking.
Oh,
Nice.
for
Hi, Sean.
staff.
Congratulations to Dalton Lillick for winning our school-wide poetry out loud competition last Wednesday at the Woodstock Station. Other finalists included second place alternate Sarah Jolly, Shanna Drapo, Emma McNamara, and Evan Beecher. Roughly 25 4th to 7th graders, 4th grade to 7th grade also performed poems thanks to the support of Mrs. Hood and Mrs. Morris. Mrs. Witcher and Mrs. Krill would like to thank Mr. Untersea and the band for making the evening extra special. Dalton performs at Plymouth State University on February 16th in the North Country Regional Competition. Please wish him luck when you see him.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
Yes.
The Our middle high school students have been working on a collaborative found poetry experience based on Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. The plumbing and snow days have delayed their presentations a bit, but we will be certain to share photos when they are finished. However, the students have had very meaningful conversations and worked well in small and mixed advisory groups. Thank you to all of our students for contributing to the conversation positively.
Now, I understand there was a successful election for a student school board member, yes?
We do have, one was going to come this evening.
But the
because it's
snow
first
made
time
it
with the
difficult,
snow.
sure, sure.
But
I
there will
look
be.
forward to meeting
Yeah, that's
whoever it is.
exciting.
It is, yeah.
Is this a surprise?
I don't know who it is, I just know that some.
She's not gonna tell you. The unveiling will be at the next meeting.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find it.
In that chair that's on the,
Yeah.
on the
We
stage.
do a thank you to Woodstock Station. Did we do a thank you to Woodstock Station for using their poetry out loud, using?
Oh, that was great. Yes, that was very good.
Do we send a formal thank you to them?
Yeah.
It was great. We did that. Was this the second year it was there?
It was
It's so
definitely
much
there
fun.
last year. So
Yeah.
That's nice.
They used to, they did it across
We used to
the
do it
street.
at Jean's Playhouse for a while, yeah.
Yeah.
When COVID kind of threw it,
Yeah.
mentioned everything, yeah.
What's next? one?
That's what the scary was. That used to be a joke. They don't ask me anymore. That's not be a poet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Thank you.
And so I don't see any community members unless Mr. King has anything to. He's good. All right. And I will,
we
do
doing
we have anything
non-public?
for in non-public today? No. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
You're so moved.
Second.
Thank you, Joe.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And that's